Hey guys, how are you? I'm going to be explaining a little bit about the unconditioned and conditioned stimulus and responses today using my favorite snack. So, um, let's say if I were to have a friend and this would be his favorite snack too. Okay, so this would be the unconditioned stimulus. This is an unconditioned stimulus is a stimulus that creates like a response in an individual. Okay, so this would be the unconditioned stimulus, and his unconditioned response would be the natural response to the unconditioned stimulus. So if he were to see this bag and he gets excited, that excitement is the unconditioned stimulus. And so he would see it and be like, wow, that's amazing, right? And you want some. But if I want to make this into a conditioned stimulus, I would need to attach something to the unconditioned stimulus, okay? So let's say every time I see my friend, I say, hey, and I show him this bag, okay? So every time I say, hey, I show him this bag, and over time, he starts being like trained to think that every time I say, hey, I'm going to show him this bag and he's going to get some of his favorite snack, right? So that would be an example of a conditioned stimulus. So a stimulus that elicits a response after repeatedly being paired with the unconditioned stimulus. So that would be that hey. The hey is the conditioned stimulus, okay? So his unconditioned response would turn into a conditioned response because that is the behavior caused by the stimulus, okay? So, by the stimulus as in, so every time I would say, hey, he would have that response of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see my favorite snack. I want my favorite snack, okay? He'll get excited, okay? So the difference between the two, so the unconditioned stimulus and the unconditioned response they're just natural. Those are just like he's not trained. The individual is not trained to have a certain response to a certain stimulus. But after time, if I say, hey, he's going to have it trained in his head that every time I say, hey, he's going to be expecting his favorite bag of snacks. And he'll have that response of excitement. So let's say if one day I were to come up to him and I say, hey, and he gets excited, all of a sudden, and he doesn't understand why, but he does, because every time before he has a conditioned response to that sound, to think that, oh, I'm going to get my favorite snack. So let's say if a girl really likes a guy and she wants to try this out on him. So every time she sees him in the high school hallway, for example, she'll give him his favorite candy, and he'll get excited, right? So every time, like that would be the unconditioned stimulus and the unconditioned response. So like the first time that she gives him the candy, he would get excited, and that would be unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response. But over time, if she were to see him and say his name, for example, and she would say like Aaron and give him his favorite candy, and he would get excited. Over time, after repeating the neutral stimulus, and then it evolves into a conditioned stimulus because he then sees that every time she says his name, and like he sees her, he's going to think that he's going to get his favorite candy, and he's going to have that reaction. He'll have that conditioned reaction at that point. So I guess that would be explaining it more in depth with the similarities. They're both creating responses in the individual. Just the difference between the unconditioned and the conditioned is the condition happens repeatedly over time, and it becomes an inherent subconscious reaction. Okay. Well, hopefully that made sense. Hope you guys have a great day.